This is your radio, Cayman.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today is Friday, the 27th day of January 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We do hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you are a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, including using your turn signal when changing lanes, using your turn signal when you're negotiating a roundabout to let other drivers know exactly where you are going so that they can proceed safely as well. Driving at night or when it's dark or early in the mornings, using your high beam if you know where the switch is, using your low beam to drive, and ensuring that when there is oncoming traffic that your lights are on low beam as well. Those suggestions, as well as others, if you are familiar with the road code, will help to make everyone's driving in the Cayman Islands much safer and much more enjoyable and comfortable as well. Those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, we want to wish you a happy birthday and to remind you that the For the Record birthday shoutouts are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, who reminds you to live your best life and make sure your family can too. Live your best life and make sure your family can too. Those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to express our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing. So, let's go back to the birthdays, and again to remind you that the birthday shoutouts are proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. Live your best life and make sure your family can too is the advice that he has given you today. So we have two birthdays here. Jerome Ebanks, that's from Facebook, and Israel Alfonso Gisper. I'm going to pronounce it Gispert, but I'm almost suspecting that it may be French and probably pronounced a little bit different, but we'll pronounce it the English way. So it's Israel Alfonso Gisbert. And we had several notable persons celebrating a birthday yesterday. And of course, there was no For the Record show yesterday. So we want to wish belated happy birthday to Mr. Rennie Barnes. Sometimes I refer to him as Renford Barnes because in our school days, especially at the government school, you were called by your given name, your proper name. So Renford Barnes celebrated a birthday yesterday. Also, Mr. Mark Scotland celebrated his birthday yesterday. So we want to wish belated happy birthdays to both of them, and we know they got lots of shout-outs on WhatsApp and on Facebook as well. So belated happy birthday, Mr. Rennie Barnes and Mr. Mark Scotland. We also have some persons who will be celebrating birthdays tomorrow and Sunday as well. So, and of course, we won't be back on air until, God's willing, Monday. So Miss Bessie Thompson, she's celebrating her birthday tomorrow, and we want to wish her a happy birthday when it comes. Also, Mr. Norman Joseph will be celebrating his birthday on Sunday, January the 29th. So we want to wish him a happy birthday when it comes on Sunday as well. And to remind you that if you know someone who will be celebrating a birthday, has celebrated one, and you want to give them a big shout out, give them some recognition, we look forward to hearing from you and doing so as well. So here we had one again. This belated birthday greetings to Mark Scotland, who celebrated his birthday yesterday, and birthday greetings to our sister Cindy Scotland, who celebrates her birthday Saturday, coming from her sisters and her mother as well. So I'm glad that I checked the WhatsApp message, and otherwise I would have missed Miss Cindy's birthday, and she will be celebrating hers tomorrow on Saturday, like Miss Bessie Thompson as well. So if you have any more, please share them with us as well. So folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open, and as you know by now, that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson is waiting right there to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Also, you can follow us on Facebook as well. So, I want to remind you that at 8:15, after the 8 o'clock news, we will have representatives from the Department of Environment in the studio with us. Of course, there has been a controversial topic that is being discussed, and we want to give them an opportunity to clear the air on certain issues and also to explain the whole situation so that you are getting it from official sources as well, and that has to do with the alien species regulation. So in attendance this morning will be Mr. Fred Burton, who's the terrestrial research officer with the Department of Environment, and Mr. John Bothwell, who's manager, legislation implementation and coordination unit with the Department of Environmental. He's also the secretary to the National Conservation Council. And we will be talking about the alien species regulation, which was passed by Cabinet on the 3rd of November, The alien species regulation passed by Cabinet on the 3rd of November 2023, and they will explain to you why the regulations became necessary. I know that there will be persons who will want to call in and opine on the subject, and we will say to you, we will open the phone lines at some point in time, but we want to give the experts, we want to give the persons with knowledge about these regulations the opportunity to explain them to the public. So we urge you to tune in or watch on our social media platforms, and if you have any questions or comments, we will give you the opportunity to do so later as well. So very quickly, we're going to take the commercial break. When we return, we're going to share with you a press release issued by the Ministry of District Administration, and it has to do with a Lands and Survey appointing a young Caymanian to the position of Chief Surveyor in the Cayman Islands. And we know that we had other Caymanians who have held the post of Chief Surveyor in the Cayman Islands. I'm almost, stand to be corrected, but I'm almost certain that Mr. Ken Ross Connolly, before his retirement from government, was also the Chief Surveyor. As a matter of fact, he was highly qualified, may not have had as much years of experience as the post holder prior to him, but certainly had the educational background. And like other positions within the Cayman Islands, of course, there were challenges when it came to Caymanians succeeding expatriates in that position. So this is good news, folks. The Lands and Survey Department appoints young Caymanian, and I won't mention the name yet, keep that as a surprise, to the Chief Surveyor. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Under Commissioner Cardinal, road and building development continued to grow on the islands. For a number of building projects, Commissioner Cardinal turned to the shipwright and builder, Mr. Rael B. Bodden. Bodden had a unique style, mixing local and imported materials, combining native hardwoods and hand-molded concrete blocks made with Jamaican cement. During the 1920s, Bodden had built the Wooden Peace Memorial Town Hall and the concrete and wood Elmsley Memorial Church. Bodden would also be involved in the construction of the public library and post office, which opened in 1939. During World War II, Rael Bodden was commissioned by the U.S. Navy to build 2 162-ton minesweepers. These commissions and the needs of the U.S. Navy greatly assisted with replenishing the government revenues.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
It's a brand new year, providing new opportunities in service to our Cayman Islands. We, Rotary Central, a premier voluntary NPO, join hands with you to fix things, make things better, improve on our way of life, give that helping hand, that shoulder to lean on, that push up the hill, clear that guiding path. This is Rotary Central, part of the circle that gets things done. Rotary, all the good you imagine.
West Bay, home to Barkas National Park, the touristy flair, a family community, a political powerhouse. From sports enthusiasts to car aficionados, affection for silver thatch rope. No matter how far you may venture, West Bay will always be where the heart is. Home will always be in West Bay. West Bay Pharmacy, caring for your home and your family. West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient, quality care is just around the corner.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once. But you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Before I share this good news story with you, first want to remind you that at 8:15 after the 8 o'clock news, we will have in the studio representatives from the Department of Environment, Mr. Fred Burton, Manager Terrestrial Research Officer, Department of Environment, Mr. John Bothwell, Manager Legislation Implementation and Coordination Unit, with the Department of Environment, and also the Secretary for the National Conservation Council, and they will be talking about the alien species regulations. Those regulations and their effects, whether misinterpreted, misconstrued, not necessarily explained and advertised as should have been, not sure, but they have garnered, those regulations have garnered lots of discussion on radio, especially here on Radio Cayman, and they will be here to discuss those regulations and to bring clarity to the whole situation. Meanwhile, one more belated birthday greeting. So they would like to send happy birthday greetings to their grandson, Keon Parchment, who celebrates his birthday tomorrow. January the 28th. Greetings are coming from his grandmother, Ruth, mom, and the rest of other family members, or the rest of the family. So, Mr. Keon Parchment, celebrating his birthday tomorrow. Birthday greetings are coming from your grandmother, Ruth, mom, and the rest of the family. So, folks, here with the good news from Department of Lands and Survey. Lands and Survey appoints young Caymanian Darren Kelly to Chief Surveyor. And it reads, the Department of Lands and Survey have announced the appointment of Darren Kelly to the role of Chief Surveyor. The appointment is an internal hire as part of a succession plan where Darren Kelly was identified as a potential successor to the role. So, we can have succession plans. We can identify persons within government entities who, if things go as planned and both ends of the bargain are kept, that succession can take place. It can happen because in this particular case, Mr. Darren Kelly, appointed to the role of Chief Surveyor, the appointment is an internal hire as part of a succession plan where Darren Kelly was identified as a potential successor to the role. The Chief Surveyor of Lands and Survey holds responsibility for managing the land surveying section and its outputs, including the cadastral quality assurance unit and the land survey office in Cayman Brac. The Chief Surveyor is the authority for the preparation and publication of the official maps of the Cayman Islands. Additionally, the Chief Surveyor provides technical expertise with the graphical mutation of registry maps in accordance with the Registered Land Act 1995 revision, including revisions and verification of the correctness of strata plans submitted under the Strata Titles Registration Act 1996 revision. The Director of Lands and Survey, Mr. Uche Obi, added, and I quote, "My congratulations to Darren on this very well-deserved appointment as Chief Surveyor. After successfully acting in a substantive role for 7 months, Darren's commitment, hard work, determination, and a willingness to learn has enabled him experience and rapid promotion within the Department of Lands and Survey." I'm going to read that part again because, folks, this is important. That's what I said when I said, if both sides of the bargain are kept, are followed, right? It says Darren's commitment, hard work, determination, and a willingness to learn has enabled him to experience and rapid promotion within the Department of Lands and Survey. So in addition to being Caymanian, you have to have that commitment. You have to work hard. You have to be determined. Sometimes you have to suck it up a little bit as well. And then you get the experience. He said, go on to quote Mr. Uche Obe, "I am delighted that we have been able to appoint a deserving candidate to this senior post, demonstrating the Lands and Survey's commitment to succession planning." But in that part there, and I have all the respect in the world for Mr. Uche Obi, but if I were writing that, I would say I am delighted that we have been able to appoint a deserving Caymanian candidate to this senior post, demonstrating that Lands and Survey is committed to succession planning for Caymanians, and I look forward to working with Mr. Kelly. I have changed the wording there because that's the way that I would have put it. It goes on to say that Darren Kelly is a member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors and a licensed land surveyor. He holds a Bachelor of Science honors in Surveying and Mapping Science from the University of East London and a Land Surveying Technician Professional Certificate from the University of Technology, Jamaica, a Commander in Control Certificate, UAV/drone from the Civil Aviation Authority of the Cayman Islands, and a Level 3 certificate in leadership and management. His employment journey reflects a record of consistent progression within Lands and Survey, beginning as an office assistant in 2003. The young man started as an office assistant, then rising through the ranks and serving in 3 different survey technician roles, then geomathematician, and finally senior geomathematician. Throughout his extensive 20-year tenure, Mr. Kelly has accumulated a portfolio of key successes and accomplishments specific to his field of expertise. Notably, Darren Kelly chairs the Land Surveyors Board and the National Hydrographic Coordinating Committee, liaising with the UK Hydrographic Office, in regards to all international hydrographic organization maritime safety notifications within the Cayman Islands, exclusive economic zone. In addition to presiding over critical organized technical groups, Darren Kelly has spearheaded the development and management of key technical programs such as, but not limited to, the land surveying sections, the drone program, the continuously operating reference stations network, the Cayman Islands Tidal Monitoring Network, and the electronic survey in tandem with the wider e-government initiative. The acting chief officer in the Ministry of District Administration and Lands, Mr. Wilbur Welcome, and I'm going to say here another Caymanian, commented by saying Darren is a young Caymanian. That's what should have been said earlier as well. Darren is a young Caymanian who exemplifies all the attributes and qualities necessary to be deemed world-class. Our ministry is committed to fulfilling the Deputy Governor's vision for succession planning throughout our organization. This includes our underlying departments such as Lands and Survey. I am proud to see Lands and Survey position itself for sustainability and continued success by retaining critical institutional knowledge and experience honed by young stalwarts like Mr. Kelly. I look forward to seeing great things from Darren in their future. Chief Surveyor Darren Kelly expressed how elated he was about his new appointment and promises to enforce and develop regulations which promote good practice with an ultimate goal of best serving the people of the Cayman Islands. Mr. Kelly expressed, and I quote, "I feel both immensely humbled and grateful to be in a position to lead the surveying section of the Department of Lands and Survey during my 20-year tenure. I have witnessed the lands and survey sector evolving into a geospatial data bank to obtain a better understanding of our physical surroundings." And folks, I'm past 8 o'clock, so I have to stop there, but I will share the remainder of that with you when time allows. Folks, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is a minute after 8.
When you're on the go, the experienced team at Foster's Pharmacy are here to help. Drop off your prescription while you shop or WhatsApp us and we'll prepare it, ready for your arrival.
Whether you need prescription or over-the-counter medications, blood glucose testing, or advice on vitamins and supplements, we're here early in the morning to late at night. Both of our locations at our Camana Bay and airport stores are open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday.
For more info, visit fosters.ky/pharmacy. Foster's Pharmacy. Better health because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. The Public Lands Commission Inspectorate is telling the public that it is a criminal offense to conduct commercial activities on Crown land without a vendor's permit issued by the Public Lands Commission. The inspectorate is investigating the rise in people operating commercial activities on public beaches. The unit says there are some pre-approved individuals who have pending applications or conditional approval based on having a valid trade and business license. These vendors are only allowed to operate from the designated kiosks at 7 Mile Public Beach. The public will be given an update of the newly designed vendor permit application process following receipt of Cabinet's policy directive on beach vending. For more information, you can head to gov.ky/PLC. Cayman has been networking across the Atlantic this week, with the Director of Hazard Management Cayman Islands heading to London and the Financial Services Minister and Governor making their way to Washington, D.C. HMCI Director Danny Coleman is heading home today after a week in the UK for multi-agency Gold Incident Command courses, also attended by the incoming Governor, Jane Owens. Before the start of the course, she met with the team at the Cabinet Office Briefing Room Unit, as well as the UK's National Situation Centre. She also attended the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office to explore opportunities who are working more closely with them during the Cayman Islands National Emergency Operations Center activations. In the United States, His Excellency Martin Roper, along with the Financial Services Minister, attended a reception Thursday evening to mark the opening of the new Cayman Islands Government Office. The Cayman delegation has meetings with U.S. finance, economic, and business contacts, and the governor joined the delegation at a meeting at the British Embassy. And in other news, join the Cayman Islands Astronomical Society for an evening of stargazing from 6:30 p.m. tomorrow at Spots Terminal. President of the society, Tyne Miller, tells Radio Cayman this will be pretty much the last chance for you to see Saturn's beautiful rings for the year, and Venus, Jupiter, and Mars will also be on display.
Lots of other amazing stellar objects will be visible to check out, like clusters and nebula. The moon will be in a beautiful half-lit phase, so the mountains and craters will be dramatically illuminated. The comet, C2022 E3 ZTF, may just be visible to the north near the horizon.
The other sweet spot for the comet will be on February 6th when it's almost overhead and the full moon is not set to rise until about 7:15. The Astronomical Society is planning an event that evening at Public Beach. For more information, make sure to head to their Facebook page. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller.
BBC News with Moira Alderson. One of Asia's biggest companies, India's Adani Group, has now had more than $45 billion wiped off its share value following allegations of brazen corporate fraud. The firm has strongly denied the accusations by a US investment firm. Malawi's president has called for more research into the link between climate change and cholera. President Chakwera said his country had seen an unprecedented number of cases of waterborne diseases because of floods. Rebels in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo say they've captured the strategic town of Kitchanga. M23 fighters have been engaged in battle with government troops there for days. Speaking on Holocaust Remembrance Day, President Putin has repeated unfounded claims that ethnic Russians were being cleansed from Ukraine by neo-Nazis. He's used such claims to try to justify his invasion. The World Chemical Weapons Watchdog has concluded Syrian government forces carried out a chlorine gas attack on the rebel-held town of Douma in 2018. More than 40 people died when canisters hit apartment buildings there. A British teenager has been sentenced to 11.5 years in prison for producing far-right extremist videos linked to 2 mass killings in the United States. Daniel Harris was convicted of encouraging terrorism. A state of emergency has been declared in New Zealand's biggest city, Auckland, parts of which are underwater because of torrential rain. 1 dead body has been found. Fiji's newly elected leader says he'll end a controversial policing agreement with China. The deal allowed Chinese officers to be stationed in Fiji for training. A court in Finland has found 2 journalists at the country's largest newspaper guilty of revealing classified defence information. An article had contained information on the rough location and activities of a defence intelligence unit. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Radio Cayman News.
In remembrance of those who helped to build these beloved Cayman Islands.
These individuals and organizations give up their time, energy, and talents for free.
The work of our charities, non-profit organizations, and volunteers, such as our nominees today.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Mr. Campbell, we have your test results. Do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Good news. No, wait, bad news. Give it to me straight, doctor.
Your blood work came back. You've got erythrocytes all over.
Oh no, this can't be happening.
Here's the good news. That just means red blood cells. It's a good thing. You're completely fine.
With 99% of medical claims paid in 5 days, we're like a doctor who doesn't want to be a comedian. CG Britcay. Good like that.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 80 degrees. Relative humidity is 77%. The barometric pressure, 30.06 inches and rising. The wind is out of the northeast at 10 knots. Overnight low temperature was 78 degrees. Synopsis indicate moderate winds and seas expected to continue over the Cayman Islands for today as a high-pressure system persists across the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show showers in the Cayman area moving towards the west. Now, the forecast for today and tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the mid-80s today and will fall to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Low tide will be this morning at 8:35, high tide this afternoon at 2:14, and a low tide again tonight at 9:13. The sun will set this evening at 6:14 and will rise tomorrow morning at a minute after 7. And the outlook is calling for an increase in winds expected from tomorrow morning through Sunday afternoon as the high-pressure system moves over the Atlantic Ocean. That's the very latest on your weather report.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life. Mastering the art of communication can open doors for you.
As Susie Casson wrote in her book, Rise Up and Salute the Sun,
We cannot control the way people interpret our ideas or thoughts, but we can control the words and tones we choose to convey them. Peace is built on understanding, and wars are built on misunderstandings. Never underestimate the power of a single word, and never recklessly throw around words. One wrong word or misinterpreted word can change the meaning of an entire sentence and start a war. And one right word or one kind word can grant you the heavens and open doors.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. Encourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look this time at traffic. Coming from the east on the Linford Pearson Highway, traffic is bumper to bumper. For the ramp on Shamrock Road, moving on steadily. Cool Road, busy traffic heading to Georgetown. Eastbound traffic on Cool Road is moving on pretty good. Traffic also busy coming off of the Esteli-Tibbetts Highway, heading towards the Butterfield Roundabout, and steady traffic on Northtown Road in both directions. And heading to the Industrial Park area, traffic is moving on moderately. Traffic flowing at a good pace on Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue. Coming from the West Bay four-way stop, traffic flowing pretty good. Downtown Georgetown and Edward Street, light to moderate traffic flow, and into Georgetown on Shedden Road looking pretty good. Out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, traffic moving along moderately. Owen Roberts Drive, traffic is moderate in both directions, and the usual traffic flow on Walker's Road heading to Georgetown. And that's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. Remember, click it or ticket.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist, or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. Kirk's Home Center, you got a great deal in store for you.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. As promised, we have in the studio with us this morning Mr. Fred Burton, Manager, Terrestrial Research Officer with the Department of Environment, and Mr. John Bothwell, Manager, Legislation, Implementation and Coordination Unit, Department of Environment. He's also the Secretary of the National Conservation Council. They're here this morning to talk about the Alien Species Regulation, which was passed by Cabinet on the 3rd of November 2022, right? I think I said 2023 earlier, but it's actually 2022, and they're going to be talking about those regulations. They're going to also try to clear up any misinformation, any misconception, about the regulations and any of the activities that are taking place now by the Department of Environment over in the sister islands as well. So, gentlemen, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, Orrett.
Morning, sir. Thank you for having us on.
Okay. I think what would be nice is if we gave some historical perspective to the regulations and any other historical perspective that you believe may set the foundation, so that those who may be listening for the first time, those who may not be familiar with the whole topic, will get some background information as well.
Yeah. So I'm sure Fred will jump in here in a second with a lot of the details, sir. But as everybody knows, we've been talking about the problems of different alien species in the Cayman Islands for years and years and years and years now, and the country have been addressing different ones over time. Packs of feral dogs, no longer quite as much of an issue as they used to be, because everybody recognized that was a problem. Green iguanas, we had to step up and start doing something about them because they're becoming such a problem. We have a long history in this country of having to deal with these issues, and this is just another step in that progression of making sure that we as a people are able to deal with alien invasive species, and people can continue doing what they're doing to have the good way of life. But from our perspective, why we are bringing this, as we are obviously very concerned and have been for years, why we keep coming back to this topic of alien species, invasive species, is for the native wildlife, which around the world, and sadly here in Cayman, alien species have a huge impact on the native species, and which is how we kind of got roped into having to help deal with green iguanas. And this is just this regulation is simply an extension of that long-term commitment that as a country we have had to trying to find better ways to properly manage and effectively manage our alien species.
Yeah, I'd add that the National Conservation Act always envisaged that there would be regulations in these areas. The Parent Act itself doesn't even have definitions of some very key ideas, like what is a feral animal versus a domestic or agricultural animal. And it talks about release to the wild, but it doesn't define release or doesn't define the wild. So we were told actually by the Solicitor General some years ago that we really needed regulations to clarify some of these issues, because without them it's very difficult for us to frame the necessary control that we need to do with things like green iguanas, things that are unowned animals living in the wild that don't belong here, that are causing environmental problems, and we need to do something about controlling them. The legal framework for doing that was weak. So the regulations are designed basically to clarify that. But I think what's happened is people are starting to think that maybe these regulations are about pets, and that's really not where we're at. We're trying to make a very clear distinction between animals which are owned, and they could be domestic pets or they could be agricultural animals, but animals that belong to people, versus animals which don't have an owner. And most animals don't, but they're native. The problem happens when we've got alien species which we've brought here with the intent for them to be pets or agricultural animals, and they've got out. The green iguanas got here because people had green iguana pets, and then they got too big and they didn't want them and they just let them loose. Or there were a couple in a cage at Georgetown Primary School, and they laid eggs and the babies just walked away, So the alien species problems we have here, green iguanas being a classic example, but also we have issues now with chickens, we've got issues with feral cats, and who knows what else is on the horizon. Those problems all arose from basically irresponsible pet ownership. I mean, what we're trying to promote, along with the Humane Society and all of the other charities, is responsible pet ownership. But these regulations aren't about pet ownership. They're about alien species which are in the wild that don't have owners. Mm-hmm. And those are the animals we call feral, and those are the animals which we will need in certain situations to be able to control.
Okay. Now, you spoke about the fact that there was a lack of definition in some legislation. Some people may still be confused by the phrase or the words alien species. And how can we get around that confusion? Because a person may say, well, is a chicken an alien species? Is a dog an alien species? Is a cat an alien species? While they may not have been here initially, they were brought here, but over generations in time. So if you could speak to that, and also how can we look from this perspective, that from a historical perspective in the Cayman Islands, we now need to have more responsible ownership of animals, because we know, there are dogs who will attack people, will attack other dogs. But when I was growing up in the 50s and the 60s, everyone had a dog, everyone had chicken. Some persons may have had chicken coops, but some persons may have let their chicken roam as well, and based on the feeding and stuff, they knew exactly what the parameters or the perimeters were in terms of where they would go. So, can we talk a little bit about the historical perspective and why we have to move away from that now? Why we have to change, because the Cayman Islands have changed as well, and the whether or not we could find another word for alien or another definition for alien species.
Yeah, so absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why in these regulations we're using the term feral.
Okay.
Because we want to try and get people focused on where the problems are. Mm-hmm. But as you said, so we all know that, and I'm sorry for this is generational gap here. I'm going to say from my grandparents' time, but Cayman has changed.
Yeah.
And the practices that were okay then are not now for a variety of reasons. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter the why, it just matters that we have to be keeping with the times. And we have seen a lot of practices that we have to update. But as you keep talking about these animals that people used to keep for themselves, they were their pets or their livestock. And I can still barely remember cows getting loose and your neighbors having to help you go find them and get them back in because you knew whose they were. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is not what as Fred said, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the actual wild animals. So yes, there's no feral cows out in the bush. Some places around the world do have problems with fairly large feral animals. Thankfully, Cayman doesn't, but that's just because the ones that we have active problems with are small, the size of a dog or a cat or a green iguana or chicken, doesn't mean they're not a problem. Mm-hmm. And doesn't mean that we can't end up with these larger feral animals, becoming large animals becoming feral and becoming a problem. And so the regulations are written to address whatever the issue is with feral animals. Alien species is just a term because we had to, in the law, find somebody to differentiate between native species.
Okay.
So if anybody remembers I just saying it wrong. The animals law for decades had a protection in there for all birds. That protection got brought over into the National Conservation Act, pretty much word for word, all birds are protected. We recognized right up front that obviously this becomes a slight problem if someone wanted to apply to something like a chicken. That's not what the National Conservation Act is trying to conserve. So we deliberately crafted the act to exclude these alien species because we're not trying to save them, mm-hmm. Which is how this then got into the discussion. But obviously for something that's more about having an effect like regulations are, we've gone for the term feral specimens, because that's what these regulations are about dealing with, is somebody some of my family keeping a pet chicken. That's not what we're talking about. Not because of my family, but because it's a pet. These are not pet regulations. These are about the wildfowl out in the bush that they don't belong to anybody. People are currently harvesting them now for food. We've got no problem with that. That's not what we're not here to try and protect the chickens. That's not our job. Responsible pet ownership is a very real issue. We really look forward to the parties who are best placed to dealing with that, inside and outside of government, and it's got our full support on that. But we're here to try and worry about the native species, which are unfortunately getting impacted by these feral specimens out in the wild, and a lot of these are also can have people effects. So, as Fred mentioned, these regulations are about plants and animals. We do get plants sometimes that are a problem. People may have seen us on our social media and other releases recently talking about Brazilian pepper. I had to pause there because I've got a bad habit of saying the name wrong sometimes. But yeah, this Brazilian pepper, it's really nasty bush. It can look very pretty though, and so occasionally it gets in probably for ornamental purposes. But it's one of those ones we really don't want it getting loose, and we have to remove it when it is found.
Have you seen? I saw stories of that with some southern states in the United States, where they have become overwhelmed with that.
Exactly. This is the thing. We all know the Cayman Islands is a beautiful place to live, but not just for people, plants and animals too. We also know we're comparable to other places like South Florida, and we can learn from them. We don't want to replicate those same problems that they have with Brazilian pepper or snakes going wild in their wetlands here in the Cayman Islands.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we want to start talking about the native wildlife population here in the Cayman Islands, with them being at risk, and talk about the evidence that you have accumulated over the decades in relation to that, and then we can talk about the fact that trap, neuter, and release is not necessarily a solution. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. I want to remind you, yes, some of you may be chomping at the bit to call in, but we will get to that stage later on. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
JN Money, money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money, JN Money, I can send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use your money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we are pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
So much happening, so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my health care instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
105.3 Breeze FM live. Now it's an Man Bushman representing for 105.3 Breeze FM.
Hey, this is DJ Lynn. Join me Sundays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Breeze 105.3 for Beach and Reggae Sundays. Whether you're out in a boat, in the backyard, or simply on the beach catching some sun, it's the perfect way to unwind for the weekend as the sun sets on our beautiful Caribbean Sea. Join us this Sunday from 2 p.m. on Breeze 105.3 Beach and Reggae Sundays.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Mr. John Bothwell and Mr. Fred Burton from the Department of Environment. So let's talk and let our listeners and viewers know about our native wildlife population that it is at risk. Sorry.
Well, OC, it's hard to think of a single native species in the Cayman Islands that isn't somewhat at risk from alien species. There are so many threats and pressures on our native wildlife. It's a bit bewildering, really, because we are dealing with massive loss of habitat as the island develops, and we're dealing with big global issues like climate change and so on that could have really complicated impacts on our native ecosystems. But alien species are the number two. After habitat loss, alien species globally are the number two threat. And there's a lot of focus in the discussion on these regs over the last few days on cats, but cats are only one of many alien species that are impacting the environment. Some of them are plants. There are plants which have spread rapidly and widely through parts of the Cayman Islands that are completely replacing some of the native flora. The logwood tree is one. It might be surprising because everybody thinks logwood belongs here, but it was introduced here from Central America as a dyewood, and it was planted because everybody thought this would be great. We can start making dye here, and it'd be good industry. And then somebody invented synthetic dyes, so the whole logwood thing just became useless. But the logwood trees were here, and they spread across all of these damp pasture areas that had been cleared for agriculture, and then now we have these huge forests of logwood trees. From the animal point of view, we obviously are very concerned about the green iguanas. They could shoot back to the level they were before. They were defoliating large parts of the landscape. They were documented even feeding on bird nests, which is a surprising and novel observation for that species, because green iguanas are fundamentally herbivores. But it seems like they were doing things here when they started to get a bit desperate and up to their carrying capacity. Feral cats, we know, and when I'm talking about feral cats, I'm not talking about people's pets so much. I'm talking about wild, unowned feral cats in the wilderness, and they are everywhere. You can go into the most inhospitable inner parts of the Cayman Islands and stick a camera monitoring, and you'll see, within days, you'll see a cat walk in front of that camera. They are living entirely on whatever they can catch in the wild. There's no other food source for them, so they're taking birds, they're taking reptiles, they're taking insects, they're taking amphibians, they're taking anything they can basically catch and eat. We at the Department of Environment have been monitoring some of the more conspicuous and seemingly important species. The rock iguanas, for instance, are a big concern. On the sister isles, our team have been surveying the rock iguana population, especially on Little Cayman, every 3 years now for a considerable number of years. And what we see is the age structure of that population is changing. So a healthy rock iguana population has lots of babies, rather few yearlings, and the smallest age class is the big adults. And what's happening is that is flipping, so that the largest population is the adults and the scarcest things are the young ones. So the whole population structure is changing, and that change is getting more and more accentuated with every passing year. We are reasonably certain that the cause is feral cats. We have so many observations of feral cats predating on hatchling rock iguanas in the Sister Isles, in Grand Cayman, that there really can't be any reasonable doubt that that is the driving force behind it. We've also got camera images of cats in the Booby Pond Nature Reserve feeding on a frigate bird chick. We've got, unfortunately and really sadly, we've got multiple pictures and evidence of cats attacking brown booby nests on Cayman brack. The most recent one was really like the smoking gun. You know, there's the head of a brown booby chick that was just a few weeks old, with puncture wounds on its head that are spaced exactly the spacing of a cat's canine teeth. There's no real doubt that these deaths are being caused by feral cats. Some may even be caused by domestic cats, and this is an underlying concern we do have, and everybody should think about a bit, because if you have an outside cat and it's completely free to roam and it finds its way into a seabird colony and kills a chick, that's actually an offence. The booby is a protected species. It's protected under Schedule 1, Part 1 of the National Conservation Act. And if you allow your pet to take a protected species, you, as the pet's owner, are actually liable. It would be a hard shot to get to the point where we actually prosecuted somebody for that, but it's a moral responsibility. If you own an animal as a pet, you have responsibility for that animal. You have responsibility, obviously, to feed it, to give it water, to give it its fundamental needs. But you also have a responsibility to have some control over its movement. And we accept that for almost every other animal, except for some strange reason, the cat and the chicken. I'm really concerned about goats. We had a goat farm on Cayman Brack. It closed. All of those goats were sold to anybody who wanted to buy them. We have more goats now in private ownership than we've ever had in Cayman before. Feral goats are a massive environmental problem all the way through the East Caribbean. All it needs is for a couple of goats to escape and to make some babies that are born in the wild, and the babies grow up and they're born in the wild. And then you have a feral goat problem. We've had a feral pig problem in Cayman before. There's all this old fencing in the Mastic Reserve where people try to fence out feral pigs. That one got wiped out, thank goodness. But the idea that we can't get other species going wild is wrong. We could very easily have a feral goat problem here, and if we ever did get a feral goat problem here, it'd be a jolly hard thing to deal with. This is kind of the driving force behind these regulations, is we need to be able to anticipate, respond quickly, and nip some of these things in the bud. Government spent $8 million and growing on controlling these green iguanas. If we'd known more at the beginning and we could have nipped that in the bud, we could have saved a lot of money and a lot of grief.
Okay, so will anyone then, come February the 3rd, be arrested for under the regulations?
That would be very surprising. Everybody knows that the DOE has a long history of educate first. And these regulations are no different. So again, thank you for having us on, because this is all part of the outreach that we like to do, we know we have to do before as anything comes into force. But yeah, and even with our conservation officers, their first instinct is always to try and educate first. So no, you would surprise us if someone got arrested the first day. Well, for anything that we're doing. Let's just be, frank about that. The point of these regulations is to begin changing the current way things are done from an unsustainable way, which I know some people don't like that word, but it's the simplest way we can explain the problem, to a better way, a right way of doing it. And that is going to take a lot more than this, because responsible pet ownership is a big part of the issue that we can't tackle and handle, because we're trying to protect the wildlife. But these regulations, as Fred said, they cover a lot of things, and that one little part about what's happening, that comes into force on February 3rd is just a small part of it. And no, I don't think anybody should expect to see people looking to make arrests on February 3rd. That's no fun for anybody.
Okay.
And I would just add that nobody's going to arrest anybody for feeding their pet. I mean, this is.
Thank you, Fred. Yes.
A really. It's a concept that seems to have got out and about, that we're actually going to be going after people who are feeding their pets. No, of course not.
Okay. What about the other assertion that you're going to be going into people's yards and taking away their pets from them?
That's equally ridiculous. That would be outrageous and utterly illegal, and we've absolutely no intention of doing any such thing.
And the other similar thing we get asked about is about spaying and neutering. Of course, people can continue to spay and neuter their pets. In fact, we strongly encourage it. Please, if you have a pet, spay and neuter it, like Bob Barker used to say every day. Just do it, please. It's better for the animals. In our case, it's better for the wildlife, but it's your pet. Please take good care of it and spay and neuter it. Absolutely. That's very important.
Okay. Now, I've heard people call in and talk about the fact that they have pets in their yard. They have maybe 6, 8 cats in their yard. What advice and I know you've mentioned some of this before, but we'd like to give out some more advice to them in terms of how should they go about rearing their domesticated pets, what responsibilities they assume as pet owners, and what can they do to help to prevent or indigenous and or endangered species from being damaged.
So it's hard to generalize because there are lots of different animals that people keep. Yeah. But I think the general idea is control breeding. And for heaven's sake, don't breed pet animals if you haven't already got people lined up to take the young ones. Don't breed by accident. Spay and neuter so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And above all, we keep the animals in your area. It's hard with some animals, it's easy with others. You can put a fence around your yard that the dog can't get out. But a cat can climb and jump fences. So cats are harder to contain, but it's not impossible. I mean, one option which we strongly advocate is pet cats can be very, very successfully kept indoors. I mean, it's a very well established practice. The cats can live very happy and fulfilled lives indoors. The idea that they need to go out to live a quality of life is not really, I think, a fair comment. I think that's a convenience comment more than reality. If you have an outside cat, it's going to roam, and it's going to roam onto other people's property. And other people might not want that. It's not really kind of fair on others just to let your animal roam across the landscape. There are other ways you can keep cats contained. You can build catios. You can keep them in enclosed spaces. Presumably, and I've never tried this, but presumably you can use electronic collars and things like that. It is even theoretically possible to build a cat-proof fence around your garden, but that would be pretty extreme measure. Yeah. But yeah, the idea is if you're responsible for a pet, you should know where it is. You should be able to take it to the vet if it needs to get fixed, to get taken care of. You should be able to feed it. It should be getting all its needs from you. It shouldn't be needing to go into the wild to find its needs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and we say this is not a pet regulations, but the FAQ we put out from last year even has information on there about how to keep your pet cat safe, your pet dog safe as well. I mean, yeah, we're not the pet people, but we don't want people's pets out running around and getting hurt. It's your pet animal. You need to please try your best to keep it in control, and everybody will know how best to do that for their pets.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. So when we return, we're going to talk a little bit more about our native species, how they evolved in the Cayman Islands, the instincts that they have developed, as well. And if there's more that you want to talk and give out some more precise information about the Cayman Brack, the Brack Brown booby as well, we invite you to do that. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
West Bay, home to Barkas National Park, the touristy flair, a family community, a political powerhouse. From sports enthusiasts to car aficionados, affection for silver thatch roof. No matter how far you may venture, West Bay will always be where the heart is. Home will always be in West Bay. West Bay Pharmacy, caring for your home and your family. West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient, quality care is just around the corner.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
So Ray, are you ready for another See What I'm Saying?
Okay, Dwayne, so we're back. So I just want to wish everybody a happy new year or a happy, successful revolution around the sun.
What's in store for us this month?
Yeah, Dwayne, the topic this month for See What I'm Saying is Norwegians.
Norwegians? What I gotta do with it, Cayman?
Yeah, Dwayne, believe it or not, some of our founding fathers were Norwegian.
Really?
Believe it or not, our DNA is coming back Scandinavian. So that means Norway and Sweden and places like that.
Norwegian in their blood?
Yeah, Dwayne, Norway is a maritime society like us too, you know. Plus all the connections we have with Norwegian seamen.
First you're talking about Norwegian blood. Now you're saying Norwegian seamen?
Yeah, we have a lot of interaction with Cayman seamen and Norwegian seamen, you know. So join us this Friday for another See What I'm Saying. This time the topic is Norwegian.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
We just don't understand how you can afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu, starting at just $3.50, gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shedden Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value menu, the deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm going to try to squeeze in one birthday shout out here before we go on with our discussion. And this person, this young lady, Sasha, she wanted to send birthday greetings to her uncle, Leonard Muscles Ramon, whose birthday is on Sunday. So, Muscles, early birthday greetings are coming from your niece, Sasha, as well. So, gentlemen, we to remind our listening and viewing audience that in the studio with me, Mr. John Bothwell and Mr. Fred Burton, we're going to talk about the Brack brown boobies and, talk about the history, of them and the size of the colonies, the threat, again, that they're facing. I know we mentioned it earlier in the show, but if you could repeat that also, while I have the mic, I'd like you to talk about whether or not you've had discussions with community groups and whether or not there are any plans for any further or additional discussions with community groups as well. Over to you.
Okay, see, I'm going to cram a lot of information in here fast because we need to cover all of this.
Yes.
Okay. So on Cayman Brack, first of all, historically speaking, and this isn't my personal work, but Patricia Bradley spoke many, many years ago with some of the oldest residents of Spot Bay, and got the stories about when the old Brackers used to go up on the bluff and collect booby eggs. And they would say that there were thousands, that the boobies were nesting on top of the lighthouse trail and inland from the lighthouse trail and all around the cliffs there. And they would go up and collect these eggs for consumption. They would collect the first laid eggs and then let the boobies lay another clutch, because that's what they do if the nest fails. A lot of them will nest again and leave the second nesting to hatch and grow. So you have this sort of oral history of a population of thousands of boobies on the Brack. You know, if you walk that lighthouse trail, they'd be all around you, literally hundreds and hundreds of nests in view as you walk that lighthouse trail. There are 5 nests that we can see on that trail at the moment. There were 6. One of them was taken apparently by a feral cat. We found the dead bird partly consumed. It's not 100% clear exactly what happened, but most likely explanation was it was a feral cat. So there are 5 nests there now, where there used to be thousands.
Wow.
They haven't had a successful breeding season in years. You know, the vast majority of nests have been failing over the last recent years. The south side nests have been flipping over the years between nesting on the cliffs and nesting on the shore, and it's almost as if the birds are trying to find somewhere safe to nest. There's a small group nesting on the shore right now. There's a cluster of 6 nests all in one place. And again, that's now 5 nests because one was predated, and that was one which we know was done by a feral cat because we saw the tooth marks on the chick, which just perfectly matched the dentition of a cat. So what we're doing on the Brack right now is we are trapping those very small specific areas. So the Lighthouse Trail, not the whole trail, but just the eastern part of the Lighthouse Trail, we're trapping. We're trapping with cage traps for the feral cats. We're baiting them, live trapping, and then when we get any cats, and we haven't got many, we've only got a handful, I think 7 so far from all of the Brack, all of the Brack that we're trapping.
Yeah.
And none of them have had microchips. None of them are people's pets. We've taken them to the Department of Agriculture, and they've put them down humanely by what's involved. It's the standard vet procedure, right? You give the cat a total anaesthetic by injection, so the cat goes unconscious, and then you give them the lethal injection. It's the same way that a vet would put down any animal. It's humane and it's accepted practice. We're also trapping for rats, and I think I need to be very clear about something that's going on up there right now. Okay, we're trapping rats with these crocodile traps. They're like these. They're a variant. They're not the standard Victor trap that has a metal thing, but it's a plastic trap.
Okay.
With jaws that snap shut. They're a bit safer to use. We're baiting those traps with peanut butter, and we're putting them in rat bait boxes. And these are just generic rat bait boxes, and for some reason, I think because this is normally what they're used for, on the top are the words poison. We're not using poison in these boxes, we're using snap traps. The way it works is the rat goes into the bait box, and then there are little circles that don't let bigger things get in, and then there's a corridor that goes to where the bait is supposed to be. And in that corridor is the trap, and so the rat can only approach the trap from the right side.
Head first, you mean? You mean the rat has to come in head first towards the trap?
Come in head first.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are mechanical traps we're using, and don't be misled by the fact that the box says poison, because there's no poison in them. They're the same boxes pretty much that Department of Environmental Health use for rat control in populated areas. And I actually can't speak for what DOH is using in those boxes. But as far as DOV is concerned, we are not using poison. There's been some allegations that somebody's out there poisoning cats. I don't know what the story is. I don't know what the truth is, but it's definitely not us.
Okay. And meetings with community groups necessary?
Yes, and of course it's necessary. I mean, on the BRAC, what we've done is we've met specifically with the individuals who live within a radius of the areas we're trapping, and that's basically the south side. Nobody lives on the Lighthouse Trail, obviously. We're also trapping, we've got a couple of traps on the old Goat Farm Road, because there are a couple of nests on that part of the bluff too. And then we've got this little spot on south side, and that's within a radius of several residences, and some of those residences have pet cats. So we went to their residences, we registered their pet cats, so we've got their IDs, we've got pictures, we've got the microchips, so we can be sure that we're not actually going to euthanize anybody's pet. On Little Cayman, it's a very different situation.
Okay.
So Little Cayman, the rock iguanas are everywhere. And the red-footed boobies are nesting, and the frigate birds are nesting in the large Booby Pond Nature Reserve that the Trust manages. The whole of Little Cayman is an environmentally sensitive area. And we are trying to do something at the request of the residents. The residents of Little Cayman, by and large, have been pleading with government to do something about the feral cat situation on Little Cayman for many, many years. So we are back onto that, and what we're doing on Little Cayman is an island-wide operation. So we have had multiple community meetings on Little Cayman, because this is something that affects everybody on Little Cayman, whereas in the BRAC we're only talking about these tiny little pockets. So we've had community meetings on Little Cayman, and it's fair to say that we have a very, very strong level of support from the community there. There's interest in the community for the possibility that we might even look to eradicate feral cats from Little Cayman completely. We've registered every pet cat on Little Cayman that we've been able to identify, and we continue to register new ones as they come up, so that we're sure always that if a cat gets in a trap that's somebody's pet, we can identify it and we can return it to the owner. And that's been happening. We've been trapping pet cats on Little Cayman and recognizing them, scanning them. Oh yes, that's so-and-so. Let's give so-and-so a call, and they can come and get their cat back.
Because that does raise one of the issues, that even these very well-fed pet cats still hunt. And so, we do recognize that this is a problem. So like Fred said, we take great care to make sure we're not getting after people's pets. But equally, the idea that some people want to have that it's not their pet that will ever take a native species. No, that's not the case. And we all know that. And people recognize that when they start talking about it, and so, well, okay, they don't take many. But yeah, so we just wanted to remind people of that even these well-fed, well-neutered pets, which are properly looked after, which is what we want, they will still take occasionally go out.
And there has to be some level of tolerance to that as well, because if you keep getting quote-unquote repeat offenders, at some point in time it is quite obvious that someone is not adhering to...
is not taking good care of their pet.
And,
which, yeah.
Okay, we're going to go to headline news. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to stay. I'm not sure how long you were planning on staying. The show goes on until 10 o'clock. I want to open up the phone lines in the event that we get, some people, calling in. But want to make sure that you cover everything. So when we return, we're going to ensure that everything has been covered. If it isn't, we're going to open up the phone lines as well, and then we can basically alternate from the phone calls to any additional information. So, Ms. Susan, we're going to take the break now for our headline news. We're going to open up the phone lines. We just want to remind people, when you call in, we want you to be as brief as possible. We don't want you to personally attack anyone. Want you to be as polite as possible, but we also are going to give you an opportunity to get your point across. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Public Lands Commission Inspectorate says it's investigating a number of reports of folks operating commercial activities on public beaches. While there are some pre-approved individuals who have pending applications, these vendors are only allowed to operate from the designated kiosks at 7 Mile Public Beach. U.S. President Joe Biden is urging protests in Tennessee to remain peaceful as officials plan to release video of an arrest that led to a motorist's death. Body cam video of the encounter with 29-year-old Tyree Nichols will be published today, and lawyers for his family said it will show him being severely beaten. 5 now fired police officers face murder charges after Mr. Nichols died days after the traffic stop on January 7th. Memphis is said to be on edge, and police there have increased patrols. A 29-year-old woman has been arrested in New Jersey for allegedly posing as a high school student. The woman, identified by police as Hee-Shang Shin, has been charged with using a fake identification document to enroll in New Brunswick High School. Ms. Shin attended the school for 4 days before staff found out her age. School officials said police are investigating the matter, and a review of the district's enrollment process will be conducted. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm going to sneak another birthday greeting in here. I'm told that Miss Zeta May is celebrating a birthday. I'm not sure whether or not it's today, but it says everybody knows her, Miss Zeta May. So, Miss Zeta May, happy birthday to you if it's today or whenever it comes. Happy birthday. You're well known throughout the islands, as well. So we have 2 callers. We're going to take those callers. But before we do, I've heard questions being raised that if the black-brown booby is so important, why hasn't it been declared an endangered species? Can you speak to that, gentlemen?
Yeah, absolutely. As we said, the black-brown booby is absolutely a protected species in the Cayman Islands. Anybody can pull down the National Conservation Act from the conservation.ky website, look into Schedule 1 of the Part 1 of Schedule 1 of the Act, which lists, and I'll just read it out here, those species protected at all times.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
All birds are protected, as we said earlier. What is excluded is on Part 2, the species that are protected, that can still be collected, are the game birds.
Mm-hmm.
So the blue-winged teal and the white-winged dove. And obviously, non-native species such as the feral chickens are also not protected, but they're absolutely protected. The question of are they an endangered species or not that's a fun one for biologists to discuss, but it's a bit of a red herring here. A, they're protected, so the local rules are in place for a reason. These are pan-tropical species, so Fred can speak a bit more about this in a minute. But the ones locally are Cayman birds. They're not exactly migratory, like the sparrows are something that will go from north to south across the Americas. These are Cayman birds. They might go quite far off foraging for food, spend some time in other places, but this is our nesting population. As a fish guy, they're a bit like the turtles, if people want to think of them that way. We know that turtles can go all over the Caribbean, but our nesting turtles are our nesting turtles. Yes. If we had lost them, they weren't coming back for a very, very long time. And the boobies are a bit like that. But Fred, you know a lot more about this than me.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have laws here that define what is an endangered species, what is not an endangered species. We have laws here that says what is a protected species, and the brown boobies are a protected species. Brown boobies are, as John said, they're pantropical. You can find them all around the tropics. There are populations, healthy populations in other parts of the world. It's not really, we're not talking about the species globally as being endangered. Our population is on the brink of what we would call extirpation, which means extinction locally. If we don't do something about it, our brown boobies on the brack will become locally extinct. That doesn't matter to the brown boobies as species, but it matters to the BRAC, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So we have two callers on hold. Let's grab the first caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I am good here on the block. I am good. And good morning to the guest here this morning.
Good morning, sir.
I was taking notes as I listened to you all speak regarding the boobies, and I am very touched by the rubbish that you all are talking. And I noticed when Mr. O.C. asked the question about the public meetings that it was avoided. These things cannot continue. It has to stop. My father was the caretaker for that lighthouse back in the 60s and the 70s when he gave birth to me, or when my mother gave birth to me through him in 1970. And you can see that I'm not as old as you think. When I became old enough to walk, he took me up them trails and he taught me every rock, every plant, and every bird when I was old enough. He was the caretaker for the lighthouse at the time. He had to keep the road chopped out in order to get there. We used that trail for getting tops off of that bluff. Booby eggs, when the weather was too bad on the north side to climb the bluff, to get the eggs, to go home and eat. That's how we survived. When tourism came into this country, as the old Tiara Beach, which was the first hotel for Kim and Brock, there was no such thing as tourists using that trail for no tours at all. At all. When tourism came into this country, that the government decided to put a road on that bluff, we had boobies up there by the thousands. When tourism came in, the boobies started moving further down the side of the bluff where no one could disturb them. There was no such thing back when I walked that bluff as a cat on that bluff. Mr. Raymond made a very important, and I should have remembered that, of these hawks that are killing the birds. There's no such thing as a feral cat on that bluff killing no birds. And take notice that I wrote down what you were saying.
But caller, the panelists here have also said that they have images, because they have set cameras and stuff, and they have images of feral cats being there as well. Now, no one is challenging you in terms of what you know and what you do there, but they have been making observations on rather than casually visiting the area, they have been actually investigating the particular area that they're talking about.
Exactly. See, and he said I was taking notes, he said they got an image of one feral cat in the image, not dozens or more than dozens.
No, sir, we've never said dozens.
You said one individual
yes,
cat.
exactly.
One.
We never said dozens is what we're saying. Absolutely. You're correct.
What I'm saying is a cat has to eat and a cat has to drink water. There's no water source up by that bluff area there. We are up here in a bind because you all has put us in a bind because you had no output of just no meetings regarding what you all are going to do and what you're doing.
But again, caller, we're gonna stick to facts here. They have said that the affected area, and I don't have to speak for them; they can speak for themselves. But they have said that the areas that they're concentrating on, they have met with the residents in that area.
And up on the top of the bluff, we are catching feral cats up there.
Yes, there's no residents from Peter Bluff Road go towards the lighthouse. There's no residents there.
Yes, sir.
The residents start from Peter Bluff Road, come down. There's no residents go east. But what I'm saying is, if people are having issues here on the block with the plans that you all are doing, what I am saying is, you all need to have a public meeting that people can come out and voice their opinions. They all can't do it on the radio.
Sir, what issue are you having with the actions we are taking on the BRAC right now?
What I am saying is, The cat has a job to do, and when feral cats are taken away from the parrot reserves or wherever they are, I don't have a parrot reserve near my piece of property, but I have feral cats that I see around there, if that's what they are called, and they are keeping the rats down from eating my crops. And that is what I am against. Oh, when I go there and I don't see no cat, I know for certain the next day my crops are going to be damaged.
Yes, sir.
And that is what I am against.
Yes, sir. So that's a great topic. Thank you. It's one of the things we had on our list to talk about was the relationship between cats and rats. Fred, I don't know if you want to take that. You want me to just keep going with it?
Well, keep going if you want, John.
Sure.
I mean, the main thing I want to address here is that we're not trapping parrot reserve. We're not trapping people's farms. We're not trapping the brack. All we're doing is protecting a small number of booby nests specifically, and we are catching cats there. They are there. We have got them in the traps. I mean, there's no way that cats are not on that bluff. We're catching them.
Yep. And as far as the rats go, we understand completely that when the cats aren't around, the mice will come out to play, and you will see them more. But that doesn't mean that the number of them has gone up. All the indications are from the researchers and other places that mice, rats they're food dependent. Their populations go up when the amount of food increases and then crashes when the food crashes. They're not predator controlled. If you think as fast as cats can breed, the rats can breed faster, and that's why the predator control doesn't work to keep their numbers out. If you say you don't see the cats one day and you see the rats the next day, that wasn't because the rats suddenly bred overnight. It's because the rats were always there, just they were a bit more cautious to be out and be seen. Obviously, yes, rats are a problem. In fact, they are a problem for the boobies, which is why one of the things that DOE is doing in the areas where we are working is putting out rat traps as well. So we completely sympathize with it as a rat problem, but that is its own problem and needs to be addressed itself. Feral cats aren't doing that, and they're not the right way to do it, we would suggest.
Okay, Carla, I'm going to give you an opportunity for some final comments, please.
Final comments on those. Those boobies are nesting right on the very edge of that bluff. Those boobies are scared when they see people come to disturb their quietness. That is what's scaring those boobies. They're jumping off of the bluff from the people coming to see them, and they're causing their babies to want to follow them, and most of the time those babies fall to their death. Years ago they had control. They had the service up here was providing people not to go near those boobies. Today there's no such thing. I had suggested years ago they should have a fencing at least 20 feet back from where those boobies nest in order for those boobies to quietly have the time to grow. We have a problem, and the problem are people walking too close to those birds. That is the problem.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. We have another caller. We're going to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
J&M Money touching down again. Now you can send your US dollars at any location on island, including the BRAC. It's easy. Just walk with your US dollars. No need to convert to CI. This is another convenient service available at J&M Money. They always find a way to make it easier and hassle-free. So remember, when you need to send your money and you only have US dollars, don't ever think of what to do. Just head straight to any J&M Money location and send your money the fast, convenient, and affordable J&M Money. J&M Money, touching down again. J&M Money, ranga to la friend.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
New year, new arrivals at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery. Modern and stylish bedroom sets are up to 20% off. Save up to $600 on Beauty Rest Black mattress sets and iComfort mattress sets, including adjustable bases. Our Palliser shipment of quality sofas, sectionals, and sleepers has also arrived with great family-friendly stain-resistant fabrics. Discover all the new arrivals, including plush beanbags. Save now until January 31st, only at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Mr. John Bothwell and Mr. Fred Burton. Before we go to the next caller, I know you want to comment some final comments on the last caller.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just wanted to say that for the last caller, we absolutely completely agree with his last point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's completely correct. And if people will recall the nesting seabird species conservation plan that we put up for public consultation late last year as well, we actually had a meeting about this up at the lighthouse for the Brac community. We tried something different. We tried to have it open air and on site that time. This is one of the issues that is in that plan. We noticed one of the things that has to be addressed if we're going to save our boobies. So the caller is completely right in that. Putting up a fence or something sounds like a fun plan. The only problem is that it's all private property. We couldn't do it if we wanted. Hopefully, over time, the willing sellers being willing, the government can work towards some sort of properly sized lighthouse park up there at the top of the bluff, because we know everybody loves that area as it is in its unspoiled wilderness to view and enjoy, and to kind of remember what old Cayman was like. I cannot imagine having to climb the bluff and then climb back down with booby eggs. But yeah, until then, we couldn't put up a fence if we wanted to, unfortunately, but he's absolutely correct, and is recognized as one of the several problems that we have to try and save our native species. Absolutely.
Yeah, because the boobies are protected, it's actually illegal to disturb them and harass them, as the term take in the law includes those things.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So in practice, that means nobody should be approaching those nests closer than about 50 feet. And we have signs up to that effect, but of course enforcement is difficult. And as John says, this isn't government land we're talking about. The Lighthouse Trail is a right of way, but the land is privately owned. We all at DV feel very strongly the east end of Brac should be the Brac's signature national park.
Yeah,
for
as
that
a
to
preserve,
happen,
yeah. Uh-huh.
But for that to happen, government will have to buy all of that land.
Well, they need to buy it while it's still quote-unquote cheap. Okay, we have a few other callers lined up. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. We're going to ask you to be as brief as possible because we have other callers waiting behind as well. Go right ahead.
Yes, I'm calling and suggesting, why don't they adopt the cat, give the cats out to people to adopt down on the lower land, because they're inclined to keep the place free of feral rats and stuff like that. Why euthanize them? That's horrific. That is awful. Find another way to do it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Fence the boobies in, take out the cats that there, and give them away.
We'd be very happy to give the cats to anyone who wants them. The problem is there's not enough space for all the cats, which is why the Humane Society and other groups like that who do good work, I don't want to call them out, but there's not enough people looking to adopt the cats that they have now. So this is the problem. We're talking about feral cats that nobody wanted in the first place. And no, anybody wanting to do a trap, neuter, and rehome to responsible homes, please, full support for that. We're not the cat people, we're the wildlife people. That's our goal. What we're trying to do up there is to protect the boobies. If somebody has a loving and proper home for these cats, that's wonderful. Please take them. But our concern is with the boobies, and unfortunately these are feral cats that nobody wanted in the first place, which is why they're out there living such horrible lives. The best thing for them would be to be in a home with somebody, but they're not, and no one's taking them in. And so as much as we would love to give them to somebody, that's not possible. It's something we've talked about in the past when they were looking at this problem previously, and those homes just aren't there for these kind of animals.
Okay. Are you still there, ma'am?
Yeah, I was trying to get a word.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. You can talk now.
And he could have talked after I finished. Anyway, I still say more effort should be made to stop euthanizing those cats and carry them and invite people to come and get them before you euthanize them. You're housing them somewhere, I guess, I hope, but maybe it's straight to the fire bed or whatever, however you're killing them, injecting them. It's cruel. And they're God's animals. He placed them on this earth for a reason, and people who are doing that are going to get payback from God. Mark my words.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, caller. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, OC.
Good morning, good morning. How are thou? Haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, well, you hear it now. First of all, OC, I would like to wish my buddy Redford Barnes a happy birthday, you know.
Belated one was yesterday.
Belated, yes, yesterday, right. Anyway, OC, I call in to give you a bit of good news. Yesterday, the commanding officer in the Bracknell, he got a team from Public Works, and they came and they secured, put the car that I was complaining about on the lot next door.
Mm-hmm.
And he secured it into one shed that they had there. They covered it up. No one can really see it now when they come there.
Okay.
Unless they look into the shed and see it covered over.
So we at Radio Cayman, we can get a commission for for affecting that, right? We had a lot to do with that.
well, it took a long time, but it got done, you know, and that's the most important part right now.
Okay.
You know, and keep up the good work, Sophie.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have another caller, Miss Susan. Okay, we're going to take that caller as well. And in between there, one person wanted to know why the boob is so important. So I know we talked about that at the early part of the conversation this morning, but if you could place some re-emphasis on that in terms of them, being indigenous to Cayman and whatever else. But let's grab the caller first, and then we can intersperse that someplace. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Connor, this is Carrie Hibbert from the Black.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, John.
Morning, Carrie.
I just want to say that I support Albert's call in regards to the disturbance of the booby nest. If you go to the lighthouse, there is this gravel-paved winding road a good distance along the edge of the bluff, taking you down. I think it goes to Peter's Cave.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember rightly, but I think it does.
Yeah.
And along that path, for years as a child, I recall when we went up there to look booby eggs, because I can afford to tell you, I did consume the booby eggs as a child, because, hey, when you're a kid, what's put in front of you, you eat it.
That's right.
And I'm an adult now, and I've never done it since I've never eaten a booby since 1978, booby egg. And it's not even the actual egg of it, or boiled like how you would normally boil an egg or fry it. What they did was they extracted the white from the egg, and used that to make a very fluffy sort of a whipped up punch, and flavored it, and you ate it.
Mm-hmm.
And, some people put it on cakes and cupcakes and different things. But, it was a delicacy, and it was served at our dinner table when the boobies were nesting. And I recall seeing, as a young child, my memory comes back to me in waves now and then, that, the nesting mothers of these eggs were very, very angry at us, excruciatingly angry at us when we would try to get those eggs out of the nest. And I only went up there on one occasion as a child and saw that take place when we were getting them. And I'm thinking, with that path that so many tourists and locals utilize, during the nesting season, maybe what we should have done is prevent anyone from going down that path. so that none of the nests are disturbed. And we know that the boobies will uproot and leave and abandon that nest if you come too close to them, in proximity of them, taking pictures or just being in awe of them. And I'm thinking that a lot of the disturbance of the boobies has played with the fact that they are now no longer, as much as they were back in those days, is due to the fact that human intervention has been a problem with it. And we are not actually doing our part to stop that. We're accusing the cat. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a lover of the booby bird. I love the booby bird. They're very. I look at them and I say they look like a Muslim. Not being. I'm not being prejudiced in that comment, but the way they look, the looks of their face, their face, the black and the white and the beak and stuff. But they're a beautiful bird, and I love them. And I am not one to stand up and say that, I don't care if the cats kill them. No, I don't. I am worried about that fact, too. But I'm also worried about the fact that we are killing a cat. We are not taking into account that we could do a different program with these feral cats. Right now, in my house, I have 12 cats, that I've rescued and adopted from the Cayman Islands Humane Society. 2 of those cats in particular came from Little Cayman. They were taken to Grand Cayman. They were, captured, taken to Grand Cayman. I adopted them from the Humane Society, and I brought them back here. And that's been now 3 years they're in my home, and they're still very skittish. Daisy and Rosie are the most skittish cats, and now they're slowly coming around and allowing me to interact with them more. They do come around into the house and interact with their other kitties that are there that are more socialized. But those 2 were very feral, but they're now indoors. They've been indoors for years with me, and they're still got that skittishness about it. And it's all a matter of, I guess, the way you do things. And I'm thinking, why is it that we haven't put some of our funding to a cattery and get the cats in a secure environment versus euthanizing them? I do not see the logic behind that. And it's not because I am a lover of cats, and it's not because I have done my own research. I've talked to every veterinary doctor I know. And you know what saddens me more even so is that nobody even invited the veterinary doctors like Dr. Brenda Bush, my niece Melanie Moore, even into a Zoom meeting, although she lives in Canada, to hear their opinions on this. And Dr. Brenda, I must applaud her because she has done so much for the cat population in these islands, in Little Cayman and Cayman Brass. She's gone and done so much and comes to those islands and help people with their animals every quarter or every couple of months or whatever. I have appointments with her right now for March for several of my indoors to get their annual vaccinations. But the point I'm trying to make here is we do not have to kill the cats. That's my point. We do not have to kill those cats. And I'm not going to be happy with it. And I'm declaring this morning, I am running for the Sister Island. And one of the things that's going to be on my manifesto that I've recently tweaked after 10 years of tweaking it is I'm going to put in a cattery. And we're going to take care of the ferals, put them in an environment, get them fixed, get them on their medications and their vaccines, and feed them. Because I have fixed a lot of cats since I've been up here, and they're still outdoors. But the point is they don't wander. I'm sorry, Mr. Burton, but your facts on that are wrong, because I can prove to you, and I got the videos, and I have documented it. The outdoor cats are not roaming. I feed them twice a day, and they are not bringing any dead animals anywhere. No lizards, no chickens, no nothing is in the area where I feed them, because if they were roaming and doing that, if they weren't being fed, then I would see remnants of that everywhere.
Caller?
So that's just me saying that because of my own evidence that I've collected and my own research that I have done. So I feel that we should not be killing these cats.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. And you've heard it first here on Radio Cayman. Miss Kerry Tibbetts will be running for a seat in the BRAC in the next election. We're going to take a commercial break. We do have some other callers on hold as well, and want to give our panelists here an opportunity to respond to the previous callers. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Tune in Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. for the Daily Sports Report, covering local, regional, and international sports. Proudly brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
It's time to update your information. If you've recently changed your mailing address, phone number, or email address, please let your Water Authority customer service team know. Remember, non-receipt of a bill does not constitute a release from liability for payment. Visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, to download and fill out our customer information update form. Or you can contact our customer service team at info@waterauthority.ky or call 949-2837.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Mr. John Bothwell and Mr. Fred Burton. We do have another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Uncle Lucy. Good morning to your guest. This is Dr. Mel Moore. I'm back in Canada now and I'm at work, but I thought I should definitely call in on this conversation.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to thank us for coming on as well. I've been kind of back and forth. I've been trying my best to make notes, so I apologize to your guest if I'm repeating something that was already answered, but please do clarify. I do think that this is a very important discussion, and I'm really glad that we are having it. A few things I wanted to state. I think from a veterinary perspective, I completely understand what you're saying in terms of the birds being protected. But from a veterinary perspective, all of the financial resources that we have put in over the years to ensuring that we trap and release and try our best to keep the cat population at bay, now I feel like this money and this time and the volunteer time that we've had to do all this kind of gone down the drain. Because what was the point in us doing this? Dr. Brenda has been doing it at the islands for many years, and other veterinarians. What was the point of all of the work that we have been doing if we're now at a point where we're saying, okay, we need to start culling these cats? So that's my first point. My second point is, again, I find that I'm getting a lot of anecdotal answers. I'm not really getting any formalized data. So please correct me, and I'll give you a chance to respond to this. But has there been a formalized census regarding the cat population on the BRAC? And has it been a decent amount of time to gather that information, more than just 1 week?
Want to take the second one first, Fred, maybe?
Yeah. So we're actually working on that on Little Cayman at the moment. Developing an accurate estimate of feral cat populations is technically a very difficult exercise, because these are cryptic animals. They avoid humans. And typically, if you walk through the bush, you never even see them. What we're doing is we're working with wildlife camera arrays, and we are basically spacing these cameras at 200 meter spacing on a grid in the interior of Little Cayman. We've done one set out so far, and we've analysed that. We need to repeat that exercise in at least 3 or 4 different areas of Little Cayman, and then synthesize that data. And at that point, we'll be able to say roughly how many feral cats are present in Little Cayman, plus or minus whatever it might be. We haven't even started trying to do that on the Brack. The situation on the Brack is probably similar, because it's similar here on Grand Cayman too. We've done some work here on Grand Cayman, and the population densities in interior areas are really quite similar. So there's no reason to expect the Brack is going to be different, but we don't have any hard data from the Brack at this time in terms of population size or density.
And so Fred, what you're seeing is you're seeing feral cats deep in the wild, right? And this is unfortunately the problem that trap, neuter, release does not work, has not worked to reduce that number of feral cats out in the wild. The actual total population is almost not the issue. The issue is we have a problem, and native species cannot take feral animals getting released out into the wild. That's the underlying problem. As Ms. Carey was saying, trap, neuter, and put them in a cattery, no problem. It gets them out of the wild. That's great. Any organizations wishing to engage in that, good stuff. It's the release that is the underlying problem here in the Cayman Islands and around the world, but we just got to deal with the Cayman Islands first.
Okay. Dr. Mel, you still there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find a huge flaw in the argument that you just put out there.
Certainly.
So you just said that TNR hasn't worked and it has not decreased the numbers of cats in the wild. Again, can you provide data for that? Because if you look at other countries and other islands very similar to ours, there has been lots of data put out there showing that you can certainly reach a baseline plateau when you consistently do TNR. So for you to make a statement like that and not be able to back it up with consistent data, that's a bit worrisome to me. Also, just touching on the fact, I'll let you respond, just give me 1 minute. You are starting your census data on Little Cayman, but you're focusing on the cull on Cayman Brack. So to me, I don't understand how this cull could have gone forward when you haven't properly done the research on the Brack where the issue is. So what were you basing this cull off of if there's not consistent data to say, hey, this is why we need to do it, this is the amount of wildcats that are present, X, Y, and Z. So again, I find a lot of flaws in the information that's being put out there, and I struggle to really come on board and understand the reasoning behind this.
Sure thing, because remember, on the Brack, it's not a cull of feral cats on the Brack. It is targeted work around the booby nesting populations. Fred, you wanted to jump in with that?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, we are not trying to control the feral cat population on Cayman Brack at this time. We are doing that on Little Cayman, and that's a whole different exercise. But on the Brack, all we are doing is we're putting a ring of traps around the booby nests, a ring of cat traps, a ring of rat traps, in the hope that we can intercept any cats that are going there or any rats that are going there to predate on these booby nests. That is all we're doing. We're not expecting this to have any impact on the wild population of the Brack.
And as the caller said, TNR results in a level of cats still out there. That's going to happen no matter what. The Cayman Islands are essentially going to be at carrying capacity for cats because there's currently more cats than TNR can handle. There's more cats than if you attempted a nationwide cull, there's more cats than we could handle. That carrying capacity is what is going to be. As we said, anybody looking to do trap, neuter, and remove, as in take them out of the wild, great. It is the return to the wild that's not working for the wild. And that's what it comes down to.
Dr. Mel, I want to give you an opportunity for some final comment.
Okay, sorry, I'll keep it very quick. Thank you so much for answering those questions. I just also wanted to touch on something briefly regarding the rodent population, because I'm not doing verbatim, but, a comment was said that, regardless if we were to remove the cats from that area, the rodent population is going to continue to exist because they repopulate. And was that kind of the gist of it? I just want to clarify before I go forward.
No. What we were saying was that the evidence. So what we're saying was that the evidence we've seen from around the world, the information we've got from around the world, is that rodent populations are food supply driven, not predator controlled.
We do have a bit more information about this from Little Cayman, again, not from the BRAC, because we have been working on Little Cayman for quite some time now. We run rat monitoring lines in Little Cayman, and we are removing feral cats in reasonably significant numbers. At the moment, we've been working specifically in the western side of the island, and we've removed enough cats that we have undoubtedly reduced the potential predation pressure on the rats, but the rat population is not increasing. And what we are finding, because we do necropsies on the cats after we euthanize them to try and figure out what they're eating.
The ones in Little Cayman, that is.
This is Little Cayman, yeah. And we're not finding rat remains in the guts of these cats. We are finding bird remains, lizard remains, and unfortunately a lot of garbage, a lot of tapeworms, a lot of roundworms. These cats aren't in very good condition, but we're not finding rat remains in them.
Okay, Dr. Mel, I want to thank you. Thank you very much for that. We still have 3 other callers on hold. We're going to try to grab another caller before we go to the break, and then 2 other callers when we return from the break. Thank you very much for calling in as well.
Thank you.
Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning, OC, to you and your panelists there.
Good morning, sir.
OC, I had a drop-in moment a while ago when I heard Mr. Burton alluded to the fact that we had a problem with feral pigs in Cayman. I'm going to be 54 my next birthday, and I spoke to my uncle who is 65, and he seemed not to recall any such situation. And then to suggest, I am really, it really bothers me because I am a registered farmer and has been involved in farming for the better part of 40 years. And to suggest that we might soon have we could probably have feral goats. We are farmers that go to the extreme to ensure that our property is properly fenced, and that I don't mind the department coming out, because I'm a big person when it comes on conservation. Okay, so much so I don't even go and dive conch no more. Okay, it's been about 30 years I haven't dived conch, and a lobster is not my taking. So don't get me wrong. I support the Department of Environment to the greater extent. Mm-hmm. But when we're going to come out and disseminate information, it must be accurate. And if without Mr. Burton has been here longer than 65 years, and my uncle who is 65 knows nothing about it, then I challenge to get the data, like the doctor just said, Dr. Mel. Let's get some data to support this information that's being spewed out there. And because I am very ticked off this morning when I hear stuff like that being said without proper data. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to give you an opportunity to respond. We're going to go to the commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
60 and bossy with J and money. When a trip it easy, trust me. Yeah. Come on, just send some money. A instant entry. Look how you're lucky. Bossy, J and money, bossy. J and money, send you go a yard. Scene, bossy. Jamaica well bossy. 60 and bossy. We well proudie.
Celebrate Jamaica 60 with J and money for a chance to win a dream vacation for 2 to Jamaica, including airfare, resort stay, and more. Send money for a chance to win. Your loved ones will also be entered for a chance to win a brand new car. Competition runs from now until December 24th. J and money 60 and bossy enough.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at J and Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
Bossy, Jamaica well bossy, 60 and bossy.
No J and bank account required.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
That last one.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have two callers on hold. Callers, we're going to take your calls, but we want to give our panelists an opportunity to respond to the last callers as well.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. And I want to thank the last caller for calling him because he's raised a good point that is, as he said, is getting miscommunicated. This is not about animal ownership. Good responsible animal ownership is not the problem. And we have never said it is. Anybody thinks we have, I'll apologize for that misunderstanding. That's not what we're saying. Absolutely. On behalf of the farmers, they can all point out that we do not have a feral goat problem now. What we were saying is that these animals can go feral. They have gone feral in other places if your animals are not properly cared for. So feral goats, not a problem now. Absolutely, thank goodness. But we know it can be. And there's the kind of stuff that's on everybody's radar for problems we don't want. Again, seeing the feral pigs, I think, Fred, you were saying that was in reference to a particular location, right, up in the Mastic.
Yeah, it was up in the Mastic, and I really wish I could remember exactly who told me about that, because I was working up there with the National Trust when we were trying to set up the Mastic Reserve, and we found this this little fence line, and it's a high chicken wire fence that's like run through there, and it's not like a property boundary. It was a barrier fence of some kind. And some old Caymanian told me that was there for pigs. And they had a problem in there with pigs, but they got rid of them.
Right, because as you can imagine, it's something that's easy to take care of if you catch it early enough, as they clearly did at that time. But we've all heard stories out of the States of feral hogs and things. These animals can go feral if they're not responsibly taken care of. Which is why the Department of Agriculture work very closely with us on these regulations, because like you said, the farmers right now are not a problem, but no one wants to see these animals not being properly taken care of by registered farmers such as the last caller, and becoming a problem. Registered farmers are probably not going to be the problem. Let's be honest about it. But they can become a problem. That's all we're saying. With these regs, that we have the tools, if there becomes an issue, that it can be dealt with.
Okay.
The pig discussion actually reminds us something. Somebody sent me a photograph that they'd taken on the south end of the Mastic Trail of a little group of a little family of pigs running across the land there. So I mean, these animals do get out, and most farmers are extremely responsible about fencing in their livestock, and thank goodness that's the case.
And we'll make sure to try to get it back because it's their livestock. No problems.
Yes. Okay, we're going to take the last two callers. We're going to ask each caller, please be as brief as possible so I can give my panelists an opportunity for some closing comments as well. Plus, we have another question that one of our listeners wanted to know, in relation to the rats as well. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go right ahead.
Hi. Sorry, I have so much I want to ask and say just because I feel like there's been so much contradictory information, but I'm going to keep it to two main questions.
Okay.
First of all, I would like the DOE and the panel that's there today to explain to me what the purpose is of regulations of including provisions permitting and indeed encouraging the general public to be permitted to kill wild alien species, including cats and dogs, how they propose that private persons are going to be able to determine whether or not an animal is owned or is not. The last I checked, no one is running around with scanners. How are they going to ensure that this is not used as a means to inflict
cruelty? Who's going to stop the crazy neighbor from killing a cat that has accidentally escaped the house door just because, things happen, life happens? Who's going to be regulating this when we're already failing miserably on this island to enforce animal welfare laws and prevent animal abuse? So that's my first question in relation to why on earth this third-party permission to go on a killing spree has been included in the regulations, which has absolutely nothing to do and goes way beyond anything in any other jurisdiction that I've found. And secondly, it has to do with PNR. The DOE has on multiple occasions, not just today, but also previously now, admitted they have no resources for island-wide controlling of wild animals. So what on earth is the purpose of now stopping groups who are doing very valuable work in reducing numbers? Because no matter what they say, PNR does reduce numbers. Those are cats that would otherwise reproduce. And in the meantime, those cats are going to multiply when PNR is prevented, and there are going to be more cats out there that are hungry and not receiving food. So instead of supporting...
Caller, you said you had questions. We're writing your questions down so that they can answer. We're not going to have enough time for you to elaborate, though, because we're almost out of time.
Okay, here you go. Very, very simple. Why have they failed to support any programs thus far on the island to prevent overpopulation in the first place? And how is it going to help when they stop PNR pending whatever it is that their grand plans are, particularly since they've already admitted that they don't have the resources to carry through? I think that should be sufficient.
Okay, thank you very much. We welcome you to listen in. We're going to take the last caller, and then we can do everything plus a wrap-up. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hey, good morning to you, Mr. O.C.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Bartel.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. So a little bit under the weather, but driving in the car, I heard this program, and it's been very educational and very interesting. And I don't want to chime in from any sort of expertise, just pure layman thoughts and just some final feedback. Just to say, let me get also a question out real quick. If Mr. Burton could speak to if you have any data in relation. I know you mentioned that you did some studies on Grand Cayman in relation to feral cats on Grand Cayman. I knew that we had a dog situation once, and a lot of people ignore that for a long time, even though DOE mentioned it, and it wasn't until somebody actually got injured where those feral dogs actually attacked people that we took it pretty seriously. And that question I prefaced. So if you could share any data that you may have on Grand Cayman, that may be useful from a cat situation. And I guess the follow-up to that question would be, what would be the department's concerns in regards to feral cats? If we did have a huge issue, can we share what that may look like in the final? Obviously, your concern now is in relation to the booby population there on Cayman Brac, and obviously the potential harm that is potentially being created or is created. If you can speak to that, though, what would a feral cat situation look like on Grand Cayman or just across the Cayman Islands? And then I want to just say this. I preface those questions with a preface comment. And for our friends or other Caymanians who've called in, and thank the good doctor as well for the engagement. But I just want to give support to you guys because the DOE has been a shining light in this country for a very long time. I have great confidence in the director and all the team that's been there. They've been the sounding alarm in many instances for many situations that we're currently dealing with in this country that were overlooked. And one that stands out to me and always is, and it's close to my heart, is this current beach erosion that we had. For years, they were sounding the alarm about building too close. And I know that DOE director, Ms. Petrie Banks, has fought that challenge from the very beginning and even stood up against some of them, only to have politicians mull them over because we needed to develop, quote unquote. And you guys have sounded the alarm in regards to many different things. Now in regards to our fishers, our fish and restricting areas, I know the fight in that regard. You guys have talked about things like flooding in certain areas. I know you deal with wildlife now. And so I have every faith that what it is that you guys are doing, you're doing it for the best, because ultimately I think you care. This is your home, and you care about our population. And so I have no reason to believe that what you're seeking to do is to make anything worse, but to make it better. So I just wanted to give you some encouragement, and thank you for the work that you do. And I hope that we're able to find a sensible balance to the concerns. Obviously, the animal lovers. I'm a dog lover more than a cat, so that's why the cat with the dog one stood out to me some time back, and I remember it distinctly. But thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much as well. Okay, gentlemen, you have about 4 or 5 minutes to cover all of it.
You want to take that last one first, Fred?
Yeah, for sure. And thank you, sir, for the support. I mean, we all really appreciate those words. On Grand Cayman, we have been partnering with the National Trust, trying to understand a little bit better what's going on in the Salina Reserve, where the blue iguanas have been released. And I was obviously very deeply involved in that. I think many of you will remember. So we got the blue iguanas back from the brink of extinction. We bred them in a massive way in the Botanic Park, and we started releasing these animals to the wild. In 2016, they started breeding there. They laid eggs. We watched the hatchlings come out, and we thought, great, this is working, this is working, this is working. But what's been happening is the same thing that's been happening on Little Cayman. The animals we released are growing. They're looking great. They're bigger than they ever were. Their babies are nowhere to be seen. So we've been doing the same thing, again, putting wildlife cameras out in the Salina Reserve to try and understand what was going on. And the first thing that happened is we saw all these feral cats. So in this tiny little area of the Salina, and we're talking about a really, really small piece of real estate here, we were picking up 20 cats in an area where there were no more than 20 pairs of blue iguanas. In other words, there was a cat for every nesting pair of blue iguanas. And then we started getting camera images of what these cats were doing, and they were, we've got a picture of a cat dragging a dove across the cliff rock. We've got a picture of a cat with a blue iguana hatchling in its mouth. We've got a picture of cats leaping on trees to catch lizards or whatever they might be. It's clear that the blue iguanas are not going to be able to sustain themselves in the long term in these areas with the feral cat population at that density. What on earth can we do about that is a real big challenge.
Okay, so the first caller, second to last caller.
Yeah, so Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to, with the time, address them fully, and I'm really sorry about that. But very quickly, the purpose of the regulations to give us the tools to handle feral species, alien invasive species in the wild. That's the primary problem, and that's what it comes back to. Anybody looking for more information on this, please go to the DOE website, doe.ky, and just do a search for invasive species. And what that will pull up for you is the links to both to the regulations, so you know what are in the rules, an FAQ about the regs, but it will also probably pull up for you, it should pull up an invasive species website, a web page we've had up there for quite a while, on which if you look around, you will find a feral cat FAQ. It's a PDF link in the middle there. We've had it out from, I think, 2021 probably, talking about these problems, and with a lot of references that people can go back and check for themselves and see what the situation is, because we do recognize that, particularly when it comes to cats, it gets very complicated very quickly, and we want people to have the full information. There are going to be some people whose opinions we're not going to change, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that everybody has the full information, and that's where they can get it from and go back and check the references, particularly on stuff like TNR. The problem there is the release, and as covered in the new regulations, people feeding these feral animals in the wild, which is what is, to an extent, keeping their population up in certain areas, again, in the wild. And unfortunately, not all the feeding is going to be of 100% for neutered animals. We know that some of the people are very keen on neutering these animals. Other places, it does not happening so much, which is why this is not about individuals. This is about, unfortunately, feral animals in the wild. And that is the problem. I'm sorry that we can't really go into it more than that. But I mean, unless you want to give us more airtime.
I would love to.
Yes.
So we had this other question. Someone wanted to know whether or not rats eat more bird eggs or than the cats do. Do we have any evidence and data on that?
The numbers are too small to be able to draw, any sort of statistical conclusions. I mean, at this point, we are directly observing adult and young brown boobies being killed by cats. We don't have evidence of rats taking eggs. My guess is that the rats are a lesser problem than the cats, but we are running cameras on these nests to try and find out more, because the truth is we don't know as much as we could.
Yeah. And you would expect the rats to take eggs and even chicks, based on what other places see, right?
Well, certainly, yes. But when you try and say which is the bigger problem, and the answer is we don't actually know.
Yeah.
And that's why we're trying to control them both at the same time in these specific areas.
Yes. That's the point.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here. That's a pity. We thought that, 2 hours was
good, yeah.
was a long time, but certainly didn't have enough. But I think there are plans to be on with Sterling.
Sterling has us back on Monday at midday. Unfortunately, Fred is out having a nice time in the bush doing actual field work. So it's just going to be me. But yeah, and anybody has questions, please drop us an email or give us a call. This DOE.ky has the information on how to contact us. We're happy to talk to anybody or any group who wants to talk about this. We're very happy to.
Excellent.
Yes. So thank you for having us on, sir.
Okay, folks, I'm going to dispense with my closing comments because we've already gone over time. But I just want to say to you, have a great day. Have a safe weekend. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
Amen.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the Cayman Islands.